All right. Who would have thought? An FC chat, you know? Has been a while, guys. Um, I'm sorry I couldn't line it up quicker, We've been working on this particular episode for a bit, actually. There's no particular person to blame. Every time it fell through, it was someone else. So, usually since like this is going to be the big topic here, the war that's gone on, right? Usually in war, there's timers being created, and guess what? These timers fall onto weekends a lot of time. So nobody's to blame. I mean, I'm sure Starfleet is gonna blame Noraus, and Noraus gonna blame Starfleet. But um,
Nah,
but
I will actually just apologize. I'll just apologize for beating his ass for 4 weeks straight. I'm sorry.
the
The shade.
the spiciness is already coming through. For this week, and actually, Noros promised me to not create any timers because I've been begging both these guys, like, dudes, let's do it for like I think 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or something like this, right? And seems like it kind of worked out. For those who are not familiar with the guys, give me like just 1 second. I'll run through like a tiny bit of an introduction. First guest, Noros, has been leading fraternity and, I mean, really building up the alliance from the ground up, which some people might overlook too easily in today's age. I think since the creation, correct me if I'm wrong, but like ever since fraternity was started, you were kind of in the driver's seat there, which is
Uh,
2013.
2013, but I only came into the management stuff like 3 or 4 years later, when the
Alright.
other people quit, of course.
But I have to say, that's probably when fraternity started growing in all kinds of ways. So, the fraternity we know now, definitely, I would say, you grew that group to what it is today. So, yeah.
Yeah. I say I'm partially within, the whole process. You're right.
So, yeah. Always
But
a
it's also, but it's also
pleasure to
true.
talk to you.
Sorry,
Hmm?
go ahead.
No, say.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was
I
just
mean,
about.
it was also a good timing for the Chinese players because the Serenity shut down for a while. So we got an influx from the players on another server, and I used the timing.
Yeah, the server shut down, and then you guys were already established with at least a group, right? So the guys
Yeah.
that actually were looking at switching, that was just opportunity. Yeah, and then second guest, StarFleetCommander has been on a couple times too. Both of you guys basically have been on. Actually, we had an episode a year ago with both of you guys too. Has been fighting Noros and his group for the past year. Leader of Volta and the B2 coalition, which is like actually, I guess, coalition-wise, like the big coalitions is the newest coalition, really. Even
I
though,
mean, do you know what? Norris doesn't regard us as a coalition. We're just some randos. He doesn't think we're big enough to.
well, maybe he's right.
We're not on their level. But we're still here though. It's been ages, Norris. What's going on?
All right,
What's
all right.
happening?
I'm here to accept your surrender, so anytime you can do this.
I'm here to accept your surrender. Like, this is what? Oh dear, 1v1 at the sun. I think we'll sort this all out.
You know what's always weird to me whenever I talk to both of you guys, especially like on podcasts and especially before, that you guys seem to be vibing pretty well. You know what I mean? Like whenever you guys talk, it's always like it is kind of good vibes. You're joking around. It's not too serious and stuff. But you guys have been at
It's
war
a
for like a
game.
full
It's a
year.
game. It's
I
a
know,
game.
I
Do you know
know.
what?
Not everyone understands that though.
We've been in this conflict for like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've never been on this. Obviously, we've always been like enemies, but like since we moved here, right? And we're so like we've never been like on. There's no nips. There's no like agreements really or anything. And conflict keeps people engaged and keeps things fun. And if there's no fighting in this game, it'd be pretty boring. So
Yeah,
it's good
number
fun.
one,
Like
number one rule.
and sometimes we've won and sometimes we've lost recently a couple of fleets, but it's all
I mean,
it's back and forth.
you can blame me for
There's
one
a
of
loss
those
coming.
fleets.
There's a lot. I mean, Yes, that was your fault. You bombed our fleet by mistake.
Maybe
or
maybe I
don't know.
should take that moment to apologize to the B2
Formally
guys,
apologise.
or I should actually say you're welcome to the fraternity guys that might be watching, right? Yeah, whatever
I
way
just want to thank you for that, Bomb.
I'm just glad it
I'm
didn't
a-
decide a timer.
I think at the beginning it was just us fighting with Winterco, but obviously this conflict is
As
spiraled
it
out,
always does, right?
as it always does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I didn't expect
which
to fight Imperium either, so it does escalate it.
Yeah.
well, I didn't bring Imperium here first, so I'm just saying first.
Yeah, I mean, that's
were they
always.
I knew.
Just a sig, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
see. That's
I
how it always
mean,
goes.
there've been many groups that you've hired that have been up in the north, Norris. Many
Oh
that have
yeah,
come and
they
gone.
come and go. They come and go. I just signed a new contract. Yeah, and the last one expired.
But yeah, guys,
I'm
like,
sure. Yeah.
just to, like, I don't want to do like a full recap or anything, but like, how did this even actually start? Like, what was the motivation behind like starting this whole thing? What was the idea behind it,
I
and
mean,
how did it develop
there's,
over time?
there's two sides to that, right? Because obviously there's my
There's all,
perspective,
yeah.
and then there's Norris's perspective, right?
Yeah, sure.
I
Sure.
mean, of how this thing, because from my perspective, I'm not the aggressor. Okay, I'm
I
the
am the
defender.
aggressor. I agree with that part.
Norris is the aggressor in this situation. Thank you. Agreed with that. So I'm defending our territory in the northwest against overwhelming odds. At the beginning as well, B2 has come such a monumental way in the last year, and I don't know if Norris wants to admit that or not, but we've grown, and through various geopolitical things that have happened in the EVE Online, and we've not only grown because of that, we've also internally grown, like members and everything. From my perspective, Winterco forcing other alliances out of their space, pushing everybody into the northwest, and just creating an enemy that was, basically
Yeah.
you created a big enemy in the northwest, and through that, and me and other leaders and stuff, that we kind of congregated together to defend the northwest. Enough is enough, stops here.
All right. All right. All right. Yeah. I'm aware that we were creating something like the OG Northern Coalition, and I remember someone said that before and I agree with that sentiment. So I'm sorry having to pushing you guys around. But speaking of coalitions, I believe you are a collection of alliances, which is true, but you're not organically synchronized together at this point yet. So I wouldn't say you're like a functional coalition yet. But maybe someday you will reach that part. But yeah, you have to be
But
more
what be
active
the
in that
fine
mode.
difference there? Like, I think over time, there might be some alliances in B2 that might not be as like as settled in. Obviously, some joined fairly recently, like XIX and so on, all that stuff. Like, there's some recent
But
happenings.
XX Fire is still a separate thing
Yeah.
than B2.
You
Okay.
see? You
They're
see?
obviously like we don't like they are. We have a shared command. We have shared pings and everything, and we want you know the problem I see with this game is that there's just three groups. There's Winterco, Goons. Well, actually now there's Initiative. Initiative has broken off, right? Obviously from Imperium, but
Yeah, I think the process has started. Yeah. I think broken off means you've reset. That's in my opinion, but yeah.
I think
this.
Karen Norris.
I think the southeast groups are making a great push, like just exampling, manifesting us how this could have been happen. Once the blocks breaking down now.
I completely disagree with that. I think the South is. I think that all that did, you just pushed away the last other coalition in the EVE Online to the northwest to join me, and what is left in the southeast is just a bunch of alliances that will never attain any sort of status in the game. I don't think, and it's not their fault. It's just because there's not enough people. in this game.
Isn't it the
people.
point? When you're talking about status, you're talking about like the size and weight, which is essentially the characteristic of blocks, right?
Yeah,
I think
but like,
them being scattered and relatively smaller in size, it's how the blocks should be going.
well, like then then shouldn't the major blocks be leading that themselves? Like why I come up to the north, I create Blob a 2-year-old alliance from scratch, right? And you're invading me to evict me from the northwest when I was the one that was trying to make an alliance from scratch. That didn't exist 3 years ago, and trying to move Brave into northwest after a horrific war that there were whatever happened, and trying to get them to space, and then all of a sudden, everyone wants to come to the north because, we're the latest, group that can actually defend themselves against a larger group, and it were just easy pickings, right? So that would just happen.
I'm
Like,
not easy picking on you guys, but you happen to be on that spot. Like I said, the DO6H system, which is critical for the entire North, and I couldn't just overlook um, the fact that some other hostile entities living there, despite we had a brief NIP, and then later on, I start to question, how you can tame your alliances, your coalition members, sorry, to follow that. That's, I
I
believe,
mean,
is
like,
the roots of our problem.
what you're saying is some people were shooting your members in Sov,
No,
and
it's not
and
that.
that's annoying. And
You
then
know pretty well.
I mean, if you like truly want this game to be, what you're saying is like, the Southeast is a good example, right, of how it should be, right? That's kind of the vibe.
Of how it
But
could be when the block's
right,
breaking down. Yes, that's what I'm
that
saying.
all
There's
the
not much
blocks,
going on there right now.
there's nothing going on
Southeast.
there. Big Ab just went around and just killed everybody because no one can contest. You know, there are a few alliances down there that can form 100 guys, but if BFL can't go down there, they automatically will be stronger than everybody down there. The only people that they could fight are Imperium and us, right? Like, or themselves, or you,
I
but they can't fight
remember,
Mexico.
if I remember correctly, they are like triumvirates. The Southern Syndicate, they call themselves S3. They live in Wicked Creek, so they right now having a conflict. That's what I heard at least. And then you have Altric fighting the new Russian coalition, like Zerg Alliance
Yeah,
is
so
what they call.
there's a small group called Zerg there. There is I think it's Try in Wicked Creek, if you say so, I guess so. Then there is what's the other group called? I saw them yesterday actually, literally triggered, and who are they working with? I forgot. But
I
like
don't know.
there's
I
those
don't really
three
know what's
groups,
going on
but
down
No
we're talking
value.
about
No
no
value.
value, correct. I think
Yes.
yeah, I think so. But so we're talking about like several regions though, right? Which is kind of crazy. Like Zerg, they're tiny, and then you have like basically two groups at the moment that are there and active, right? It's like, but I understand,
there.
like it takes time. Like it does take time to regrow. But like what happens, I always think, what happens when those groups are big enough to make a like a cool target, right? Is someone in let's say no value, if he's gonna say something spicy towards Gobbins and Gobbins is bored and his guys are bored, like what? Is Gobbins gonna show up? I would guess so. I would guess so, right? Like we said earlier when Starfleet, when you were saying like activity and stuff like this, right? I was about to say like, yeah, that's rule number one for alliances and corps, like activity is absolute key, right? You need to keep your guys active, doing stuff and so on, right? And I think that's always the result then, what's the next target? And if they're living next door and they're a good target, man, someone's gonna go there, right? I think it's an
I think
artificial
they're
solution. But yeah.
Exactly, but like, before, Norris, like the Northwest before we turned up here was what? The conifers lived here, right? And there was, nothing else, and RHP, whatever. We moved here, we created alliances, and regardless of, the Volta leadership, whatever, Blob is a new alliance in the Evil Line, and it's big now. So it's that is exactly what should be happening in this game, right? More new alliances coming up, making a new coalition, a new group, of players together, and hopefully those alliances in the southeast will be able to get strong enough to, defend their regions against the, big groups in the EVE Online, because obviously Imperium, Initiative, PanFam, and Winterco are like vastly bigger than any of the alliances down there. In fact, if all of them combined, they'd still be not strong enough to defend themselves, right? So, whereas you guys own, how many regions do you own? Like you own like 4.5, 5 regions, right? 5
5.5.
regions, right? And PanFam own like 6, 7, or something like that. Whereas I own like basically 2.5 now. So like, all I see from my perspective is a large group, and you're allied with PanFam right now, which is like the largest coalition in block in EVE Online,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to push the smallest coalition of alliances in EVE Online away from their SOV for, I don't know, I don't really know what your objectives are anymore. To be honest, I don't know what the point is anymore. But whereas
The
the whole
point is just we are having fun fighting you guys
that is
and
true.
getting cracks. Right.
That
That's
is
what
true.
happens right now. But a year ago, that's because you're trying to step into the block way and you're trying to step into the block league. And that's a completely different set of rules. You can't just say, well, Norris, this is what you said you wanted the game. I would say it's fair to have the game style like the South and East groups, but for the block players, they also have a right to continue to do what they like, right? Which is having a safer space around them, have some buffers and agreements on their border, and while they're trying to have fun elsewhere.
That's just going
Right.
against exactly what you're saying. Like you're just with that mentality.
I said Southeast was the block. It's what the blocks could have happened if they broke up. I didn't say I need to push the process.
What does it
So-
take,
And
though?
I
Yeah, there you
Well-
go, Pando. Ask the question.
What does it take, though, for the blocks to break up? Like, I think that
Probably-
Init actually makes the first step now. That's
Yes.
like nobody
They
expected
have
it,
made
right?
the first step. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
India has make not entire. You haven't finished your first step. You're still blue, and
It's the
you're not a
first step
coalition.
to finish. Like, yeah, but like, it takes several steps to finish the
yeah.
process. Of course, yeah.
Sure. I'm watching the process closely, and this is the answer I don't have yet. So once you finish that, I will, keep following up and see if it's great, if it's good for us.
What do you guys think happens
Oh my God.
if Init were to just say, like, okay, now it's like tomorrow, we're going to reset everyone and we're just going to be our own thing. We don't want to hear anything of any politics. Leave us
Right.
alone. Like, whatever.
And we will
right?
see how the other blocks react to
And
you.
Norris would be like rubbing his, yes, perfect. One less ally.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's what I would
Okay,
do for sure.
that-
Yes, but
that would
otherwise,
be
I
the
will also watch.
Because
let's say one sec. Let's say the conflict wasn't even going on at the moment. You guys were happy neighbors right now. You're vibing, talk to each other. It's all good.
Okay.
And then Init would do it.
We
So
are.
the scenario is different. Wouldn't you think Init would make themselves like a real good target? Because you can count. It's like a fleet fight, right? Like you have 100 ships, I have 100 ships. If you undock first, I know exactly what you have. And then I can do the math quickly, saying like, okay, we can beat this with this comp, right? It's similar to that regard, right? You see exactly what we have. We have no allies because we just reset everyone. And wouldn't you think some bigger group would say like, yeah, that's the perfect target. We can deploy and hit those guys because obviously what they're gonna do, they can't call in goons right now, and
Yeah,
think that
you
was
just
always-
described what happened. You just described what happened in the Southeast like 2 months or 1 month ago. Right now, they have essentially 2 wars across 4 groups, and I'm curious to see how they're gonna develop after that, because both groups, like all of them, are trying to bat them to a degree, as far as I can tell. Are they going to evolve into eventually a block playstyle, or are they just gonna back down? For one step and do the casual roamings and that.
So you're telling people that they are not allowed. What you're saying is like, don't get too big. Oh, you
No.
get 2,000 members, but be careful. If you get too big, we're gonna come down there. We're gonna come
If you
down
get
there.
if you
Like,
get him big, if you get
Like-
him big and live right next to me, I will watch over you. That's for sure.
I mean, this is exactly what happened in the Northwest. We didn't just make B2 or B2X or Phi. It gradually escalated because the impending danger of invasion just grew and grew and grew, and it started with just Blob, and then it became GTC, and then it
Wait a
became
second.
B2,
What's
and then
the impending danger of invasion on whose part was growing? That you would invade fraternity, or that fraternity would
that
invade you?
fraternity were going to invade. Declan
'Cause
invade.
I would say that's the impending once Blob grows too big, and they might have.
So you're imposing rules on our alliances. You're saying you're not allowed to get too big because otherwise, I'm gonna come crush you.
I'm imposing rules on the territories next to me. Whoever lifts that, either you follow that rules or you fight us.
I mean, that is a terrible way to hope for the healthy health of this game.
Well,
Like
I mean,
that.
the thing is,
That
though,
means you just.
but his job is not the head of the game, though, right? And that's
That is true. I mean, that's CCP's problem.
yeah.
That is true. I mean,
So there are certain mechanics, CSM discussions are going on. Antiplexes are a big topic, Antiplexes are like a big topic when it comes to this conflict too, right? Like, what mechanics do you think are,
and this is the thing. It's like
responsible for it?
I just want to respond to that as well because
Ah.
I spoke, to respond to what Nora said. I spoke to obviously my leadership about this, and I said to them, we either back. This was like a long time ago. We either like back down and just like do something else, or just move on, or stand up and just like defend the territory that we've taken and the member base that we've built up and the people that are in the alliance and have put things down. If you're getting threats from your neighbors, you're gonna have to try and grow and get bigger and
Great.
bigger.
Yeah.
And before Imperium were even involved and in discussions or allies or whatever, I know Asher, but actually at the beginning I spoke to the Matani first before the whole thing with him happened. So and then obviously BFL came, and there was more pressure in EUTZ, and obviously with CNTZ pressure, and
There's
one
no
step.
pressure in UTZ. Exactly what you said.
No, I'm talking a year ago. I'm not talking
Right.
now.
I
I'm
mean
talking
that
like towards the end of Christmas. When BFL
before
were.
Christmas, I would say the first 7 or 8 months of the war, right?
Yeah, at the first, yes, I agree with you that the first 6 to 7 months it was relatively
It's a
an
breeze.
even fight at that point. It was pretty much,
There was
we
no
can't really
fight
do
at that.
much.
We didn't make
Not
any
really, no.
progress.
That was true. And then BFL were hired, and what we found was every time BFL got into pickle, Horde main was pinged to come. And obviously at that point, what do I do? Sit there and let all these dreads die, or
I'm
ask for
not
help?
essentially defending Horde, but that's objectively not true. BFL was adding on their own in their first deployments. I didn't even have any contact with them. Like, I was
Right.
away. They
That's
didn't like to work with us before either.
regardless. They knew what they were doing because you guys are in CNTZ, and everyone in this game knows that
I mean,
it's
I just
really difficult to fight.
Right. I created focus and the game was boring. Nothing is happening elsewhere. So naturally people will come up here. Right. That was what happened half years ago. And then
People wanting to come up here because we're fun to fight, because we're the new kid in the block. We're the new block.
they're not essentially fighting you. Okay, don't take yourself to that point, but they don't essentially fight you only. Okay. But after Horde and Init push the fire out of In's motor, and you somehow get them in the hook, which is really nice for you, obviously. Well, you essentially doubled your number. Quite
Well,
strong.
that was because otherwise, if you want to be honest,
We
you
were
were doing the
even.
same.
We were even
You
at the
you
point.
were
Like
doing
BFL
you
was
were doing
elsewhere. BFL was elsewhere. I just got
right,
the
but
6
where are
plus.
they going to go after, man? Like, there's nowhere for BFL to go once Fire had been kicked out. And from my perspective, it was clear that you were trying to talk to Fire Alliances to get them to join Winterco,
No,
right?
I rejected.
Okay, well, that's
their first
not
choice,
what
dude.
that's not what I got
Their first
told.
choice was not you.
Oh, okay. So you're the good man here, and you rejected the alliances.
No,
I'm
I'm
okay.
saying you're just the same person as I. Like we're just doing the same thing, so you can't really say I did what I did was wrong. Why are you exactly copying what I'm doing?
I'm
Right.
not saying it was wrong. I'm just saying that like from what
Okay.
I've been told that you
Well,
were
thanks for the
looking to
understanding, then.
recruit fire alliances into Winterco.
And
Like
I don't want any of the fine alliances. I mean, I
Right.
don't want any of the XX for sure.
But wouldn't you have liked that extra time zone coverage too? Someone brought up time zones earlier. It's on my list too. Time zones obviously play a big role there.
Yeah.
And
You
then
know,
XIX or like the
Vanderlock.
fire guys.
Vanderlock tried to join us before the whole war, and I was like, we're at a time of breaking down, so I wouldn't exactly take you, but you can try GTC, right? And they went after you later, and they felt pretty good about it later on, which is it's a sad we missed opportunity, but I'm okay with that. Right?
I mean,
I'm
I
not trying
don't
to
agree
afford
with
enough
this
every
stuff.
members.
I disagree with that. You're blue with the largest coalition in the Eve Online, and you got them here first, and you wanted them to join. I didn't bring Imperium here, till at the beginning. I actually
Okay.
spoke to Asher and said, like, I don't want anyone up here. Like, if it's just
Do you
Winterco,
remember
we
Panvan
can
only
deal with
blew
them.
me? Do you remember Panvan only blew me after Asher deploys DO6? It was just hiring BFL.
Yeah, but
The entire
if it,
relationship.
yeah, but hiring BFL is an extension. You are gaining support from Horde, like Horde and all the blocks were involved before the blue status were hitting it.
Damn.
You know,
The ask was
many
well
times,
spent there, from your
many
perspective.
times, we'd be doing something and BFL would be getting in a pickle or something, and then like Pam start pinging reunions, and it's already like to be honest, this whole conflict at the beginning was already lopsided in your favor. You have a giant coalition of alliances. You have more regions than us. You have accumulated over the course of your tenure in this game more wealth. So it's already in your favor regardless. Would you
I think
agree?
isn't
I
the
agree. Yes, for sure.
isn't the biggest advantage Fraternity has just like the time zone monopoly, though, to come back to the time zone thing?
You
Because
have to translate the time zone advantage into something tactical, which for us it means that I can pause any war at any moment. The progress will still be there for me to come back.
yeah, that's exactly true. Like you can make progress, but it's very hard for you to lose citadels and stuff like this, or like the progress, since the time zone is so hard in your favor. Then, right? The second you gain it,
Yeah.
so hiring, BFL, obviously that is the time zone, the time zone
Supplement.
push you need to make progress in the first place, right? Because in the Euro time zone, I think you guys were kind of even, right? If not
The
a
whole
little
Kind of
time
extra.
even.
before
Yeah.
the
Well,
whole time
if
before anyone was involved, it was even.
it was
Yeah.
even in ETZ. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
I
you
appreciate
have
I
to
appreciate that praise to my FCs and my numbers. Like we
uh,
form 150, while you form like 300. That was
Okay,
quite
but
even. I
Norris,
agree.
back then in BT and GT, it is impossible for us to take anything from you guys. Everything is set to CNTZ and likewise to us, as in everything's set to EUTZ. Nothing. We were both in different time zones. You had 100 people in EUTZ, great, but you had over 1,000 people in CNTZ, right? So like, it was even in that sense. I'm not looking at this at EUTZ versus EUTZ. I'm looking at B2 and I'm looking at Winterco as a whole, capabilities across all time zones, and it was even until BFL got involved, and it got lopsided because you start covering, a wider range of TZs that we can't do,
Didn't you
as
say you have the
effectively.
time zone advantage in your window, so I can't make any progress? I don't have any progress
No,
except
well,
for
you
I
can. You
alarm
have the
clock.
magic. You have the magic alarm clock, and you already have more people than us in your time zone.
Right.
So
That was honestly the entire plan is that we alarm clock through a few key systems like X47 or DO6. And then I had to move on to real life for a long time. By the time I came back, you already aggregated enough people to know, the advantage of my platform. of my alarm clock. And then we only got X47 that was entirely on us alone. Like neither BFL or Horde, Man Horde, or anyone
That's
from
true.
Pantheon
And
was involved.
XX weren't here as well. That was purely Winterco versus B2. And that just proved that, you have the stronger advantage in terms of member base and capital,
Yeah,
spreads, and
we're gonna do
carries.
that once a
Right.
year. That was
Okay.
a Chinese holiday, I believe. Yeah, that was the plan to do that once
But
a year and take 3 years to take Declan.
but you
Pretty much.
have what I'm getting at is like you have no leg to stand on because you are inherently stronger, and the fact that we're still here after a year speaks words for us, which means that the fact that you get more people involved, even though you're already having the advantage, means that you're going against, you don't want a fair fight, you don't want fights, you just want to win and blob people. That's the whole point, right? I didn't hire anyone to try and attack you or there's no one hiring from my end. I'm just defending the
What's
whole
the
time.
what's the eventuality that I want to blow up you, right? With BFL coming, we still got the same number. Like on the daily events, Horde or NC, when they're not formed, when Winterco plus BFL, they formed roughly the same number as you do. They don't have, well, BFL has battleships, but you guys been fighting us for a year. I'm just super curious why you still have two doctrines.
What we do.
Like to me, it's more of a NFC skill issue and how you manage your alliance internally instead of the fleet numbers. We are roughly the same on fleet paper.
So do you want me to absorb all the alliances into one alliance and do exactly what this game doesn't need and to make one giant alliance in the northwest?
No,
Is that
no, I
because
want you to have better tools. I want you to have better tools for your coalition, quote unquote, and have better FCs to command
our
them,
coalition
isn't it?
is operates perfectly fine. We have leadership and we have command teams, we have FC teams. And we
Right,
still,
so
we go and fight and we die and then we'll keep fighting.
let me jump in here. So obviously a lot of things changed in the year this conflict has been going on, right? You just went over all kinds of things. Didn't the end goal change too? Like the end goal isn't really to get rid of Volta anymore, right?
Well,
I mean, the
the
narrative
original
changed a
goal
bit
was
too.
to.
Yeah. So like, what
Yeah,
is the
I
goal? What is the goal by now? Like, what is that? What like?
after Asher moves to DO6, I kind of changed my mind because I don't want to be too close to the Imperium either. That was before we break up, of course. But having our border extend to a cloud ring or pureblind, it's not as favorable as before. So
But that would
yeah,
change if Init would leave. Would that change things again? Right now, there's a huge buffer,
no.
right?
Shadow Ultimate still lives in cloud ring, right? And I don't know how you're gonna handle this, like living between the Imperial alliances. That's kind of not
I mean,
intuitive for me, but
yeah, that's why it's a longer process, right? Obviously, Init has been in Imperium for so long. There's a lot of things that
right,
are connected, and there's a lot of work that has to be, done before like
true.
an actual reset would happen. And I don't
Yeah,
even know
but
if that's the exact plan or whatever. I'm not that involved,
yeah,
right?
you don't even know. And from the informations that I have, if I kick out B3, I would be border with Imperium, essentially. So that's not something I would like to do.
Yeah. Uh, so what is the goal then right now for you
Well,
guys?
just having
You're just having fun.
we having pretty much fun training our FCs. After BJK left, we have a new team. Mystico's doing magic job, and yeah,
Oh,
if we can get kills and 100 bill feeds in battleships every week, once or twice every week, which is pretty nice. I'm satisfied with that. Maybe we can get some East Declan IHubs and or even some reparations from SFC. Hello?
but
Is that
since
gonna happen?
what I always wondered is like
For a
since you
war that
have
you started makes no sense. Not the most illogical
I
thing
just
ever.
want the reparations from Boss Alliance. That's I think that's pretty fair. Okay.
reparations,
I don't
but
know. I just feel like this entire conflict just brings in we could have fights without other blocks involved. We could have fights with less blues. It could just be Winterco versus B2, and it would still
Uh
there'll be still fun
there
engagements
wouldn't
to
be
be
any
had.
fight because you outnumber us by 2-1. Later on 3-1.
Not
yeah,
if you
in
alarm
their
clock.
time zone. but you outnumber
Not for
them
alarm
in your
clock.
time
Yeah,
zone.
not for alarm
You
clock.
already have, you're talking as if you don't have a coalition of people. You're talking
Because
as if like fraternity is 100 guys. Like, it's nonsense.
you
Like,
guys
you
gotta
have
meet in
over
the middle.
1,000.
We're
Like,
gonna
What's
meet
the
it.
middle
Okay,
time zone?
the middle one would be we alarm clock once every 3 months, and we have fight once every 3 months, if that's what you want.
No, there has to be a time zone where your numbers
we
are like kind of equal, right?
we used to
Sure,
alarm
sure.
clock. We used to log in during the day to contest your stuff, right? And flash form quite consistently a long time ago, right? When I worked from home and lead fleets and stuff, and we'd fight your guys in your time zone. So you can't say that we don't. You know, it's a lot easier to stay up than it is to stay, not work for most of the other. So inherently you have the advantage in that sense, right?
Let's not say which is easier, staying up or wake up early. I'm trying to figure it out for a long time, but essentially I haven't seen you done anything to the DO6 Fortizars, to our Fortizars, right before Goons camp. There isn't much attempt.
Because it was literally pointless because we can't get 1,000 people in your time zone. That it's just simple as that. Like we can't do that. Like and I'm not even if you think we can, then you're delusional because we can't. So why would I waste? Occasionally, and you must admit, sometimes we flash formed and we got some hull refs, right? We did try, and I tried to try and do some sneaky stuff. We try and put some no tracks on it. We try and split some of your fleet stuff to try and get things reinforced into hull. But it became to a point where they've been here for 2 months. They're not done much with them at the moment, so we'll just leave them there for a while. And
How will my CNTZ to get any fights without alarm clock?
well, that's the inherent problem right now that we live in.
Okay.
So the only people, but
Got it.
this isn't the solving the problem. What you're saying is like the people that are getting the fights are mostly the N department in Winterco.
I'm not
The
saying you're
CNTZ
responsible for that, but yeah.
The CNTZ are the ones that are just sleeping when all the content's happening. Plus PanFam are the
True.
ones that are actively aggressing us at the moment. Really, it's not Winterco anymore. It's really PanFam, I'd say, that are doing most of the legwork, right?
Are you making that advertisement for your next Imperial support letter?
No, I'm just most of the I mean, actually, I saw Test. I actually saw Test with a little gang the other day. I was just like, oh my
Oh yeah.
god,
How
Test
big?
are back. They're back. They had like
the
6
entire
Dragobacks.
month, dude. Oh, dude, they formed 26 yesterday. Okay.
Saw him, and I was like, they're back.
I mean,
It's over.
we're joking
That's
about this,
double-
but like, let's be honest. If you had to start an alliance, if you start with like, a fleet of 25, you can get some stuff done, right? Like, it is a base you can still grow from, right? It's
100%. Like, but they're
everyone's
like,
bashing
I
on the
heard
port test guys.
Panda. I heard of a great place in this game in the southeast.
Oh really?
Where alliances can go and take Sov and become new. No way. I heard about it. It's whispers though. No one talks about it.
Too bad.
but
We can't all move there.
What's great about Test is they don't have only Sov. They could easily go away, reform the alliance, get some Sov.
They could.
Become a big block
Maybe it's
and then
the
get
move.
evicted again.
Maybe it's the move.
We could
who
probably
knows?
teach that to some fire alliances. Well, Tess is pretty. They feel pretty happy with us.
Our
right now.
alliance is fine. XX have Sov, and Severance have Sov, and Synergy still have Sov now.
Where is Severance
being-
stuff? Curious.
It's been given. We're moving. We're shuffling our Sov around.
Oh yeah, you've been benevolent. Thank you. Let's see. Where did you give the Severance stuff?
I actually don't know. Actually, someone told me that it was done a while ago.
Damn, he gives no shit about him, dude.
It was. Wait.
Oh
Lots of
wow,
field
he gave
lines,
them
field
easy
lines.
tack, really? Oh god.
Good places.
Okay,
Easy tack.
okay.
Like I think I'm looking. All I look at on Dotlan is Fraternity with 261 systems, Pandemic Horde with 252 systems, NC Dot with 206 systems,
I gotta say, that's
and
whenever
Intergalactic with 251 systems. I mean, who's got the Sov in Evil Knight.
I
And
gotta
he's,
say
you
though,
know,
holding a lot of systems could be a weak point too, right? Like whenever we talked
It
about
is.
like PanFam and like obviously then drone lands, it's very hard to reach it on any campaign and stuff. But I always said
it's a
PL and
thousand.
NC, they're the fucking premium targets because they hold so many systems and they fucking hate soft stuff. And if you annoy them and stuff like this, they really like. I don't think
Crazy.
they would be happy
Yeah,
to
it's
defend
the
their shit.
same.
It's 1,000 systems
But
you
so
own
far,
collectively, Winterco and PanFam. 1,000 systems. Just think about that. And everyone in chat, 1,000 systems you guys own. And you're the
I
ones that
haven't
are,
start. I haven't started
and you're
tracking how many
preaching
systems
about,
you guys have.
oh,
Okay.
we should have decent, we should have less Sov and people should get rid of their Sov, and have the, and it's just like, I think what we have,
Well, I don't want to
what,
burst your bubble, but you have more blues than I do, and we're
that's
definitely not
nonsense.
going.
What?
Just check the map, dude. You have blues all the way to Esoteria. Okay.
It's no, but the blues on you're talking about. I'm talking about numbers of blues, whereas you vastly are larger than us
I mean
on numbers.
so just to clarify, right? Whenever we talk numbers and stuff, and people are like, "Oh no, you guys have more," but we like, it's always like it's a never-ending thing. I
Right.
always,
I would
I
just say.
always
You're the
go.
leader. No,
Go
that's
ahead.
good. That's
One
good.
sec. But you always go by the numbers someone can field at a certain time zone, right? Like, so what are the fleet numbers on grids? Those are the numbers, right? If you look at the
True.
member numbers on paper, there are some groups that are just way more clean. Like NC Dot is a good example of that. They have
Yep.
way less trash in their alliance, like character wise, right? So it looks like a smaller alliance, really. But
They're
they can.
pretty lame.
I mean, maybe not nowadays actually that I'm thinking about it, but like they used to, right? But like if you compare it to Init, we had several corps in there with just like pure alts and all that stuff. So like people would always say like, oh yeah, it's equal numbers, but that's not quite fair, right? Like they would still out numbers hard back in the day, like when we fought them. But yeah, so I guess just to clarify, like when we're talking numbers, I guess we're talking numbers on field, right?
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that you have more numbers or everything, but I just want to say if I have more, it must because I've done something right. Okay, like or not.
And yeah, Chad says
We
not anymore.
probably have the better management. Yeah, we probably have the better management internally, and we do softs better, and we have the whole industrial process better, maybe. Right? That's something you could have learned. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it is a
Alright,
legit
and
point.
when it comes to the point that the people you can actually feel in a certain time zone, let's just take EUTZ when you solve the time, right? Between those 18 to 2100, how many could you form? Brave has been doing great. They are actually pulling the weight in your coalition, but they don't provide any, you know, fantastic FCs like your other alliances do.
Actually, I think
So
that Brave and Blob are very much equal in their contribution to B2. If you look at most of the BRs, it's on the major timers, it is very, very even. The numbers
okay,
on all fleets, like it's
okay,
very even. So
okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, but what's great is you're talking down to a group of alliances, especially Blob, that's only been around for 2 years, and you're saying you guys don't have the industrial capability, you guys don't have the diplomacy, the history of knowing what's what and where, and it's just that's not an argument. You can't use that as an argument
It
against
doesn't take any history. No, we're not. We didn't build this up because we have like a decades of history. We only moved to wealth like how long? 2 years. We
Where
brought
did you
those
move
wealth.
from?
We brought those wealth with us, yes,
Where did you move
but
from?
Detorit,
And where did
then
you
then Detorit and
where did
outer
you
pass to
move before
Noasa, and
that?
then before that we live in Esoteria actually.
Ah, okay.
Before Detorit, yeah, that was
So
a brief
quite
time.
quite a storied Sov history.
Yes, true.
Yeah, quite a
Immensia,
storied.
firstly Immensia, we were in
Very, very
renters.
storied alliance of a big history in Sov, a big history in mechanics, and always been part of the political sphere. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, good experience.
Yeah, sure. Welcome to the
And
league, bro.
Oasa, there was some nice Oasa Sov, I believe. There was
That
stuff
was
Sov that
that was
Volta used
before.
to own.
Oh yeah, your renters. Holy shit! You have to, 3 renters regions. That was nice. But we live in Oasa. before the local change. It was I don't know how CCP would picture that later on in the history, but after local change and super nerf in EHP, we decided to move out.
Someone in chat
Okay.
suggested I should make you guys say at least one nice thing about each other, like give each other
Sure.
some credit. I was about to
It
give
sounds
Nora some
like-
credit because, like, let
There
me
are a
let
lot
me
of things.
let me start to say something like about fraternity, because I feel like you know, it's an obvious target, fraternity, right? And Nora's is very aware. You're big. You're not doing the nicest things to a lot of people. You know, it's like it's easy to you know, to pick that as a target. But like
Easy
what
to
I
get
always say to like smaller groups and stuff like this that tend to say like, oh, we're getting blobbed in 1DQ, in MJ, or whatever, right? Be it Horde, be it Fred, be it whatever group it is, or goons. I was like, man, it's not that easy to blob. You know what I mean? Like getting to the point where you have all these people and you have them in the right chips and all, like like you have to work your way up there. Like it's not a thing overnight. Like it's not, sure, the fight itself, you know, we could, you know, it's not always the hardest, but to get to that point, you know, you got to give them some credit at least that, you know, out of all the groups that tried to get there, certain groups manage to actually get to that point where they can blob like that, right? So
I do not doubt that you know, from where fraternities come as an alliance, because when I was in Triumvirate, like we moved to Curse to fight fraternity, and that's might have been before you joined the game, maybe North. I'm not sure. But you were there.
What
Were you
year is
there
it?
in Curse?
What year is it?
Um, 2014 maybe 2000. There were like
Yeah, I was there.
2009 alliance. Yeah, you know, to go from that to where you are now is, you know, over the course of 10 years is, you know, incredible, you know, and you've gone around the game, you know, and now you've settled in the north, and you know, the amount of wealth that you've accumulated is you know, is impressive.
there you go.
All right,
Also, I
thank you.
remember
And
those
I-
times too when you guys were in Curse, because like Init has a long
And
history
you were
in
there
Curse.
too.
Yeah.
G-Tech-Q, yeah, sure.
Those damn Chinese guys that would just react so quick, so hardcore, even though it's not the biggest group at the time. You guys were tiny.
Do
We
you
would show up,
still
and you
keep those
guys,
Titans in Curse?
man, you guys would be so quick. It was hard to deal with. But yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Noraus.
Volta has really nice FC teams, right? I do like your FCs, your Volta FCs. Those are scary, capable, and those 60 Volta men have out against my push for however long until they finally lost interest, and that's to the point that I wanted. But no, that's still a compliment. Those people are actually
Like,
capable of the game.
good old backhanded compliment from Norris.
And and they only answer to your calls, which shows somehow to some extent what kind of person you are, and they admire you. That's such a
I wouldn't
compliment,
go that
right?
far.
No. That they only answer to your pins, right? I've witnessed. You have no idea how many hours I've spent analyzing your pins and your fleet compositions, and the conclusion is you are the core of the coalition. You're the core of your alliance, and your alliance back then was leading the entire coalition because only you had FCs. That's about it.
Well, we
Right.
saw,
Francis,
yeah.
Wolf, yeah, those are great people.
Okay, thank you. That was nice.
Isn't
And
that
heartfelt.
nice? Yeah.
There's a lot of questions in the chat about forts and faction forts. People
All right.
are asking me
Yeah,
where the
you
faction
want to
forts
pick up
are,
some questions? I didn't follow chat too much.
which is
I didn't either.
in reference to when Volta owned Oasa just before the before the station changes, and they made them all
Right.
into faction forts.
So what happened to the faction forts?
Sold them for sabers for Thera and
For
for
sabers.
SRP for Volta.
You
That's
bought
where
a
it went
saber
to.
BPO?
Do you still by chance have any like Jakku's Fortizars?
No, I saw all the forts were sold. I sold them to, I think I sold them to an NC guy or a PL guy. Because when we left and we went to Thera, like we needed money to, like, you know, SRP and buy sabers and corp rolling and, you know, corp ships, and then we ran out of money and then went to Hakonen, and that was a massive failure. Remember that, Norris? Like, was it,
I
no, not
didn't follow
Hakonen,
that
was
up.
it Hakonen? Was it Hakonen?
It was
Hakonen.
Hakonen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
then
believe
we
Elo was with you or against
yeah,
you.
that was mental. We put a fort down, and then Horde came and killed the fort, and then like Elo joined us for a bit, like Origin and Mutafuckers was there, and it was just such a funny, like the FC team was so like just
Edgy.
so many
Dude,
personalities, and
it's a
it had
dream team.
Penif, and it was crazy. It was crazy, and then that just whole thing fell apart, and then we went to the Northwest, and that was basically it,
One of the
really.
issues that I can see is that you're trying to use nightmares in Losac. Okay.
What back then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
We fought
yeah,
your
we were
nightmares.
using nightmares. Yes, we were using nightmares. You're correct. And that was when you were just in Vale, because Tribute was owned by Trigger Happy and DB7 and Kendar and
Rogue
TP.
Pal and Rhodes. Oh man, Rhodes.
Rest in
The
peace.
love hate history with Rhodes. No, they didn't die, dude. They're the
Didn't
Nano
they
boys.
die?
They never died. No. They were super
I mean,
Uh,
they're
ultra
in the
not super
AT,
active. Yeah.
which we should probably
not
talk about. It's still going on, by the way, I think.
is
But
it still
yeah,
going on?
It
I
is
don't know
still
for
going
sure.
on.
I don't know for sure, but
No, it's still going. I will say this though, Norris. Like, regardless of whether I'm still in the Northwest, or Blob's still there, or Ray's still there, Boss will always be in Venal. They're never gonna go away.
Damn. It's the curse with me. Okay, I
They'll
embrace it.
never go away.
Sure.
Do you know do you know Nem told me this? He said to me, he said, look, because there's a lot of pressure on Venal a while ago, and he said, Starfleet, look, even if you guys disappear, like I'm still gonna be here. And I was like, I know you
I
guys are,
got it.
because it's
I got it.
the Venal guys, like can't get rid of him. They're
Yeah,
staying there
yeah,
forever.
yeah.
Oh dear.
Those dudes, man. I don't want to talk about them, but he's a tough guy. I'm gonna give him that.
He's the he's got to give him credit for the asymmetrical warfare, right?
A
Like
hundred percent.
guerrilla
Yes.
warfare doctrine. Killing the supers. They link supers. Actually, we had a couple of supers die in Declan, didn't we? There's some people.
I mean, they're just causing a lot of trauma, a lot of troubles from where they are right now, from Japanese, and they just do daily
Oh,
blob
an
sweets and all that.
FTC.
Yeah, FTC
God, I
4.
haven't really. They sort of yes. I've been so preoccupied with iHubs and jammers
Doing
and
that.
things.
Alliance Zagreb stuff. Got it.
uh, that sort of stuff and keeping track of that. And yeah, I mean they're cool guys. Good guys. And I met him at FanFest. Such a cool guy. Them.
Okay. Okay.
He's in chat. He's in chat.
Nem.
He did.
Hi.
He
Oh,
said. He said I heard my name. I did
he
not
is.
do it.
what you didn't do? You did everything. I started war because of you. Partially. At least 50% was because of boss.
It's all your fault.
And what was the other 50%? Out of interest.
Uh, because you were away, like disappearing. Basically, I can't get a hold of you, and your minions were causing troubles here and there. And I was like,
Was I playing? Because at some point I was on set at last year. Was I still playing when I wasn't messaging? I know. I don't remember because
I have no idea. I have no idea. No
I was
idea.
on set for a while, and it's not an excuse, but yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Wait,
Like
Nem for
we used to have
CSM?
buys
Is he
in
running?
Bota.
He's not running, right?
Is Nem running for TSM? No, I don't know. I don't know actually.
I feel like the CSM 18 is going to be a lot of new faces because I don't recognize half of those candidates.
Yeah, but like, so do you
There's
think there's gonna be new faces elected? That's another
For
question.
sure. Yes.
I mean, some.
Yes. It's
we're
going to be 12
sorting
people.
out about it.
But like, who do
You
you
know-
think? Who do you think is getting elected? That isn't already on the CSM. Then, like, do you have any?
I have no idea. I haven't read the posts carefully, even I don't know them. But think of it. Think of it. Up until this year, all our votes after the 4 spots is pointless. Right? Essentially, they don't change the results much. But CCP, when they can handpick 2 guys from the
Yeah.
11th to 20th person. That makes a huge
Of
change.
course, but I'm saying elected in terms of like who is getting elected by players. Obviously I'm aware of the 2 extra players, and I can say that like I pushed like with the rest of the CSM really to get it extended to 12 people. right? Because like the idea is like have a little bit more play style diverse, so you have more like smaller candidates too, and usually slot 11 or 12, they would usually be those candidates anyway, right? I think the handpick approach is a little weird because, like, think about it, right? So I'm running also on the CSM, of course, right? And even though Shines and I, we're gonna sit down. Shines is also running. We're gonna sit down and make a bit of a strategy or whatever, right? Of course. I'm probably gonna be number 2 on the inner ballot, so that I don't have the big group behind me, right? Like, or like I do have a big group behind me. Don't get me wrong, but like the number 1 votes are important. So what if I get elected 11th? And then but I don't get handpicked. I just like went through that scenario and I'm like, man, that would suck. That would suck so much, right? So can you imagine being that guy? You're 11, you're like maybe 10 votes off, and then another guy gets handpicked, and oh man, I don't know. So I just think it would have been so much less drama, so much easier to just say like it's 12 people. And then hope that the 11 and 12 are just like good candidates, I mean, someone's putting trust in them. So, but yeah, what do you guys think? Like, do you like that idea with the 2 handpicked, or would you prefer something else? Because there were a lot of ideas thrown around.
It depends. Do you know what? I guess we'll see if it works. Like, proofs in the pudding. We'll see who they pick, right?
Yeah, but someone's always going to disagree with that, whatever they pick.
That's true. That's true. That is true. I don't know. I think it's okay, but at the same time, I'm not sure with some of CCP's decisions.
I feel like CCP. I feel like CCP see the influence of the blocks. Like we can basically secure half of the seats, and they're trying to get some more audience. That's a way to compromise. How the blocks can interfere with the voting.
True.
Right?
I mean, we have our B2 will have our candidates, right? For the ballots and things, and Brave will have theirs, and we'll have ours, and I'm sure Fire will have theirs or whatever. So I guess it's good in that regard, yeah, to have like more of a, they can pick some non-block members to voice other concerns for the ETH player base. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's an improvement.
Sorry,
I think no. I mean, I think it's an improvement the way they're doing it now. I just think they should have avoided the whole handpick situation. But I'd rather have like 1 extra block. So also to just iterate on that. Like a block candidate is not necessarily a block candidate, right? Let's be honest. People always they love to put me in that box too. I haven't done any block level stuff in like a year or 2, right? Like I really haven't. Like I'm only roaming solo, doing small scale stuff in Pochman with this mid-sized gang. I'm super far from actually being a block guy, right? Even though, technically I'm in the Imperium. But then, so, for example, you have Angry Mustache on there.
You're not in Imperium anymore.
True. Yeah, but I used to. Okay, but so you have like guys like Angry Mustache, like he's super knowledgeable about like all kinds of industry shit, right? But then you like if Shines gets elected, Shines knows industry, of course, but like his take on like a thingy, like on anything, is probably going to be way different, and they're both block candidates, right? Like. So just because someone's in a coalition, that doesn't mean necessarily it's the same kind of candidate anyway. So I think 100%. Especially on this current CSM that's still active, right? If you go through the list, everyone is very like they're all pretty different, right? You have Kenneth and Angry that are there's a lot of overlap. They have a lot of the same experience, but it also worked super great. They're from 2 different blocks and they work together very well. And it just worked out well, in my opinion. But yeah.
I did think about it this year. I asked you, didn't I, Fando? I thought about doing CSM.
You thought about running?
Yeah, but then I thought I already have a lot of things to deal with.
Who's going to be your candidate, Starfleet?
I can't release that information.
And why are you putting me number 1 anyway?
Okay. Pando's 100% on our ballot. Don't worry about it. He already won over Covert and Francis. with the little his campaigning.
Right. I mean, I wasn't.
You're on the.
That
You're,
wasn't the intention. But yeah.
your pandas will be on 100% on our ballot for sure, because you advocate, a lot of things that I think are healthy for the game and it will improve the ecosystem. And I think if I was to run for CSM, I'd be on a similar page to what you said as well, like trying to make it a more healthier ecosystem to encourage, to disencourage, I guess, like this massive scale of warfare somehow, to make it so, break it down a bit. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, but what would be the first thing on your mind then?
Don't crucify me there.
Antiplex
I was going to.
be my first thing. Fucking nerf the shit out of them. You should not be able to project a war from 2 regions away. That's what you should not be able to do.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't want to start the whole Antiplex discussion. It's too long. That's a full-on podcast right there.
Every episode.
It's so
every
complex.
episode.
Right? It's so complex. There's no easy answer, right?
It's true.
So
it's true.
Let's not go into detail. I think one thing that most people agree with, though, is like the whole situation with the war, especially with you guys, that Fraternity is highlighting the issue quite a bit. With like that war being fought for actually 2 regions away, that is kind of you can't deny that it's not supposed to be like that, right? It's kind of weird, right? Noraus, do you agree, or do you say Antiplexes are the best shit ever?
I agree. No, shit. It's kind of shitty design, but it's also shitty design when PL can helicopter, taking everybody with 10 light years and no fatigue. So you kind of find the balance.
It's true,
Yeah, that's why they fixed it.
But there are other issues as well. That's just one, but it's crazy to think that Antiplexes used to be even, you could jump even further. And you could jump carriers even further. It's crazy to think that used to be in the game.
Yeah. I remember us, like, and Shines probably remembers too, because he got fucking that shaved years of his fucking life, I'm sure. Move ops with like supers and titans, and then you do the whole Capacer flux coils thing, right? So you jump to a Sino, and then hostile Hicks land on your Sino, but you already kept up before your invuln runs out, so you jump to the next Sino, right? Take some balls to pull that off, especially like there's always that one guy who fucks up, right? We never like doing that exact thing. We never lost anyone. It's kind of a miracle, but that used to be a thing, right? So kind of crazy that you could just jump.
It was also impossible. It was also impossible when you have those 5 days fatigue. Like, who's gonna wait for 5 days to play your game?
Dude, again? I remember first week, Shines pushed his fatigue to 60 days or something. Like I think he kept so his fatigue was extremely fucking high already, right? Like at 2 weeks or so, and he's like, oh no, I can't jump anymore. And then something funny gets tackled, and he's like, fuck it, right? And then he completely dumpstered his fatigue right away. That was insane. Like I couldn't believe it. Like how long? So fucking I'm glad they dialed that back. That's for sure. I think fatigue is in a really good spot, like cap fatigue. I think that's Right?
Yeah, I think so.
At this point, we just want some consistency within the CSM devs team, and a clear mind and a capable team like the CSM 17 to support them. You have to say the CSM 17 is one of the best, right? Out of all these years.
Yeah,
it could be something. So. Oh yeah, really?
CCP.
Okay. It could be because of after the COVID. Oh yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. That puts a lot of weight on the next turn. So when I see the CSM 18 candidates, I barely. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I also think it has to do with like what were the CSMs right before? If you think back, there was a huge war going on, and then you had Goblins, Valley, but then the Goon guys on the other side, right? You had Merkel Tien and the Nominate. And they're in a fucking war for a year for like about extinction. You know what I mean? Like tensions were quite high, and they probably weren't. Yeah. They weren't probably too happy to talk to each other constantly. So
you see, this could be a reason. It could be a reason the CCP wants to add more candidates. It's not like Block doesn't have any talents. Angry is super fucking smart, but they can get political. when situations change.
Yeah,
That's
but
why I
like
think
more
it's good to have
candidates,
something even up.
wouldn't you agree? More candidates would then make it more likely to be political? Because
What? How? How?
I always think a meeting, right? So if you have CSM meetings, for those who wonder, like it's always basically everyone's invited, right? I think it would be better to have smaller meetings because then you can actually talk about stuff and you can actually find a consensus too. Because like if you have 12 people, try to agree on something. Like try to agree on how to approach Ansiblexes when you have 12 people in the room with a lot of opinions about the game and a lot of experience and confidence. It's gonna be pretty tough. And then guess what? You have CCP sitting there. They're not sure about like what should we do with Ansiblexes. Otherwise, they would have done it already, right? So and now you have a CSM. The players are not sure either. Like, what are you supposed to say then? What are like? You just go with like your gut. Like, see, it's like it's easy to then
Would
say
you?
like, hey, we can't touch them because even the players can't agree if it's good or bad. Like it's too much risk for what we get out of it. And I think with more
At least,
people, it's probably worse.
well, at least it's more chances. Would you rather like 6 people all from the block and say, well, Ansplex is perfectly balanced?
Yeah,
Don't
no,
change that.
no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying more people is overall worse for the CSM. I'm just saying in some situations, it's not an advantage. In some situations, it probably is the contrary. But like you don't agree?
But I was
I
gonna
agree with you. Maybe.
I was gonna talk about the FanFest. I want to talk about FanFest, like what people think. Oh, we can't talk about it. You're on. Well, me and Noraus can talk about predictions, can't we,
Yeah, and
Noraus?
I can
We can,
put a
we
neutral
can,
face on and act like I
Yeah.
didn't hear anything. You want to
And don't
predict?
back.
You want to
perfectly.
predict? I want to hear some bold predictions though. Don't come along with like, oh, there's
okay.
going to be new
Oh, you
ships
want to?
introduced, or go with
I was actually gonna say that because of the
like I don't know. That's a
there's
common thing at FanFest, right? Like,
there's I hope that they have. I don't know. I just really hope that they kind of maybe start to have some sort of maybe some balance, but also like a vision of what they foresee the game to be like. To start planning things out and something that things that we can look forward to. Maybe I don't want more ships in the game. I think we've got enough. Let's focus on balancing the ones that we have, like, and making the ecosystem work better. In for like capitals and supers and stuff. Just adding more ships. I don't know. Is that a solution? I don't know. What do you think, Norris?
I think you're right. Like every time CCP encounters a balance problem, they introduce new ships. I don't think that's the answer. We already have enough new ships, but it's the balance and the production that's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
automating our fights. But it's also they've made a lot of positive changes this year, right? With the help of
Yes.
CSN
Yes.
17. It would be
I
too
definitely
bold
agree.
for them. It would be too bold for them to announce new changes right away on the FanFest. I would rather to see some visions for the next few years. That might be too much, but next year at least, right? So that's what we're gonna do in the next year. We're gonna tackle these issues like super prices, uh, like resource allocation, distribution, so that.
I think the balancing this year, like the overall ship balance, has been really good and positive. I think just in general, like, obviously it's a very battleship heavy meta, but there is other uses of doctrines out there for different scenarios. And I think sort of instead of just adding in, I mean the Lancer dreads, okay, yeah, whatever, but like they're very dreads are expensive and they're obviously you guys use them to good effect the other day, but it's still for us to use them, it's still a big risk. It's very expensive. Um, and for everybody it's expensive. I think that's you know, I see like Snuff using like Navy revs, in low sec, and they're like 8 bit a pop, for one. But I think there could be
Yeah.
if they could generate a really nice ecosystem where you can use these things and have really fun fights, and it's not like the resource distribution works really well, so it's like, and there's a nice ecosystem for like supply and demand, and I think going in that direction would be really good and really healthy for the game, and to encourage like more interesting
I
engagements to be
I agree.
happening.
A consistent flow of supply will help the players and FCs to, have more fights. That's for sure. I don't know how this
what are you
whole
talking about?
scarcity.
Scarcity breeds conflict, don't you know?
Oh, jeez. Don't let me
Sketchy.
bust Gatsby. I can't shit talk on CCP. They hate me already. But that's a bad idea. Like, I don't know why they changed the rules the way they are right now, but it does kill conflicts.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
Right.
that's
right.
always the question
I
I
think
ask. Like, if nobody, like, if you have a bunch of dudes in the room, you want them to fight. If nobody has anything, like, what are they supposed to fight over? You know,
yeah, they're gonna move to the other
you gotta
game.
put some something fightable, like what's worth fighting for in the middle. You know.
I think like some people in the chat were saying like TFI is the meta, but I think yes it is, and but there are other ships that are very effective in the battleship meta,
Yeah.
like BFL using nightmares, and obviously you guys have been pinging out rocks and SNIs and all that sort of stuff. So it's because there's going to be a lot of doctrines coming in, different types of doctrines at the moment. Obviously, we're the Eve players and the blocks in any meta, even at the most balanced time of this game, which I don't know could be debatable. There's always one ship that's like the go-to, right? And then eventually people start like trying other things.
I think I kind of disagree with you here. Like right now, the battleship meta, we could have used paladins, even after the nerf. We could have moved on to the other battleships, but I think the main reason for blocks that's using TFI, it's because we usually engage in those 2,000, 3,000 players fight, and artillery is the only reliable weapon platforms you can see in this server status. So
Yes,
CCP
yeah, I
servers kind
agree.
of limiting
Yep.
us. Otherwise, in the smaller engagement, I would rather choose something
Not
else.
just you, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, artillery's boring. There's no there's no room to outplay someone. You just alpha them.
Yeah, it would be
I was
beautiful
trying
if
to use
someone
the
brought like a blaster rock fleet and just like whooped on
yeah.
Zoe.
Dude, we were
I
trying
love
to
that.
trying the thunder child doctrine, and so eventually the conclusion is shit. Better use TFIs.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah,
honestly.
obviously.
Sorry, go
Karen.
ahead.
No,
All right.
you're going to say something far more interesting than me.
Okay, I guess probably not, but I always think short range battleship guns, like they don't have enough oomph, honestly, right? Like I always think, man, it's a battleship. Come on. Like it should be easily getting to 1,000 DPS. It shouldn't be just like twice the long range. Like you have 10 times the range on long range guns, but you still have half the DPS. Like, no, it doesn't seem right, honestly, right? I always think short range guns on battleships, man, there could be a little bit more coming out of those, right? Generally, like that's all platforms all across, almost.
I mean, it also can Tempest do a lot of damage. Like
But the
like
range is
AC.
shit. The
The
range is
range is shit.
yeah.
Yeah, like there is,
Yeah, you gotta apply it.
I understand what you mean. It's like it's not like sort of scaling up. You get one ship that does a huge volley at like 150 kilometers, and then you have like loads of damage at 10k. So half your fleet are probably not in the right. They're not micro warp driving, or some of them are not even paying attention. Some of them are asleep. At their desk, and they're not even. So. And also that's another thing with like doctrines in EVE Online. I think that's why I think that the like Century Drone meta was so dangerous, because it required the least amount of you know like player input. Do you know what I mean? It was like the worst thing to be in a fleet in that, but it had the greatest effect. And that's why I think a lot of doctrines in EVE Online are based around like making it very simple for like players to like use.
True. Yes.
It's
Yes.
like there's a huge aspect to it. I've had many discussions with some people that have ideas of different mods or different things, and it complicates things. And if you complicate things, then it becomes less effective as it scales up, I think.
Yeah,
To a certain degree, obviously. Like there is obviously, if you can make
I've
something
always
really
been that guy.
complicated, awesome.
I've
Yeah,
always been that
you've made
guy.
it.
I can feel
If
that.
it's in a big fight or whatever, I would always think about like weird things and like maybe additional stuff and so on. And then Shines would always be the guy that like, nah, we're just gonna go simple. Let's go simple.
Yeah.
And, we always
With
found the
Bolter,
middle
it's
ground
very
though. I
different.
felt like. Hmm?
I feel
With
like
Michael Bolter,
artillery. I feel like artillery has always been like the AK-47 of EVE Online. Everybody just know it's simple, reliable,
Yeah.
and everybody's gonna use it.
if you have 80, you're probably gonna kill it. 80 shit, 80
Yeah.
tier 5, it's probably gonna die.
Yeah.
It is the AK of the EVE
Of
Online
Eve, yeah.
TQ. I think the Sleipnir is the AK-47 of the Alliance tournament.
Hmm.
I think
I don't know.
it's
I gotta be
no,
honest. There was a match
because the
earlier.
Alliance
Oh,
was
sorry.
there.
There was a
The reason
fight earlier.
go.
There was a fight earlier with Slipnears and stuff, and I instantly thought, man, that doesn't look good, and they lost. So
Right, is it AC or RT?
I assume it was Ari.
Okay.
They did Alpha
The
that he
reason why I
announced
say
the victor.
Sleipnir is because of most of the metas on the Alliance tournament, Sleipnirs were always viable to a certain degree. Like they were always, obviously now it's maybe a bit different, but like it's definitely in the last before last year, like for 10 years, like Sleipnirs were always like you could always use them, like RT Sleipnirs or and stuff like that. But and it is. Yeah, someone said in the chat, it's one of the most fielded ships in the Alliance tournament. But speaking of the Alliance tournament, we could touch on that quickly, maybe.
Yeah.
Seeing as it's just finishing now, I think.
Oh, is it?
The last match. I think so. The last match is. Let me just double check the schedule. It's Hull
I
Control
actually
playing.
won some
It's
points
the last
today.
match. Yeah. Did you? Yeah, against my team.
Dude, I gotta be honest, like, and that's one question I had, like, for you actually, like there's some teams that are underrated. Like you guys, like usually I would beat, like I would bet on you guys, but like Arrival, I knew they were like a solid team, and it was at 15%. I was like, man, I can't not put some points on that.
I have to
So
say as
yeah,
well, like I said, my team is technically I'm not running it this year.
yeah,
Someone else is running it. I still
Hey,
have Annie
those are your
and
guys
Therenth are
though.
involved, but Stiggy is running it this year, which is really cool. Like just for me, to like so I have I'm quite busy in TQ, right? So just it's kind of good
Sorry.
for me. So like it didn't seem right to do the Alliance tournament if I need to do stuff in TQ and stuff. But they're doing really well. They lost
When's going to be
today.
your next match?
Be Saturday. Will be the next match. Saturday.
Okay, next Saturday. Got it.
Some point.
It's all
I
your
mean,
fault, Noraus.
what, are you making like a secret thing? I don't play in the tournament anymore. That I watched the game and I was on comms with them today, and I was having a chat, and they obviously lost against Rival. I mean, Rival are a good team, and there's a very close match, and they'll we'll go for the lose bracket and it'll be fine. We've gone through the lose bracket maybe.
Shine says in before DO6 keeps the ref.
Shine's making me seducing me with good offers. Okay.
It's a good
Wait.
offers.
Is Fraternity also still in the Alliance tournament?
Yes. They win today.
When is the
they're gonna
first
be.
possibility that you guys fight each other?
I don't know. They're gonna fight No Vacancies next Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, Frat in the winners bracket, which is awesome. If Ulti's in the losers
That's
bracket, so it's
historically.
truth on a light. Yeah?
Don't say that. It's historically our best record in all the time when we participate in AT. Yeah.
What, you get to the final weekend and then lose? Is that it?
No. I believe they were like 32, the top 32 teams, like the last few years.
Frat versus
Yeah.
Odin's Core. That's gonna be a rough one.
I don't know.
It
was Odin's Core.
Odin's Core is a good team. Good team.
Yeah.
I mean,
I heard that's scary. Yeah, that's scary.
after last year, I just said that I didn't want to do Alliance tournament anymore. I made it pretty clear that I wasn't going to be running the team. And next year, I don't know. Like I've done it for a long time, and I just feel like it's very much the same thing every year. I really
That's a
enjoyed
lot
doing
of work.
FanFest tournament. It's a lot of work, and don't underestimate the amount of effort the top teams and all the teams really put in to play in this tournament. And dedicate so much, borderline, sort of semi-professional like esports team, professional esports team hours into it to practice and scrim and theorycraft. It's impressive. But for me, last year and the years before, that takes a lot of time out of you. And I really enjoyed the FanFest stuff. I've really enjoyed playing on a stage. That was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And I wish that they would sort of put more effort into it. And I think it's so important to have an esports team in every game. And this year, actually, I mean, I've been surprised that the view counts have been like 5,000 people, which is incredible. So hopefully that will prove to CCP and management and stuff that like there is a view for this. There is people that want to watch this. So hopefully
Also,
it might be get a shake up.
yeah. Also, I think they are trying to improve it in some ways. Like one of my critique points was always that they make it very hard for people to root for teams because like you don't know these teams. Like I who's pretty involved generally, like I see a team that I don't know who that is. Give me some more info. Give me something to like, are these guys the underdogs? Are these guys the fucking favorites? Like, give me something to root for, And I think
If
now
you're
with the
not in the scene,
statistics and
it's
stuff,
difficult.
yeah. Now with the statistics that I at least up there, and then there's some, I think, AT captain interviews. There's at least some more of that, and I think that's very important.
It's
Too.
difficult. Like it's easy for legacy teams, like like Volta, like or PL, or even Goonswarm, like Fraternity, big names. They have like you know who they are. But like there's a lot, like
Yeah.
you said, like smaller teams, smaller alliances that just not. It's good to get some stats up. It's good to get some history up. To talk about their players because that's usually where their experience lies. If they're from other teams. Like for example, like Darkside. They're a good team. Fafawafi. But they've been in multiple alliances. He's been in Afterlife. He's been, before that he was in Gorgon Empire, and similar to my team. Obviously, before we from Volta, it was Triumvirate, and then before that it was Virgil Collapse. So it's good to get like the history of alliances, and I really love that. I love esports. It's like if
Are you
whoever
a CS
any
guy?
CSM camp.
No, you're not.
I'm a league guy, the
Yeah.
worst kind of guy. Yeah, terrible. I do play CS actually. I know you play it, but I do play League. I'm just kind of the worst. It's the worst game. Don't play it.
Maybe I have to recruit you
But
into our CS team.
Do you really have that? Oh shit.
Like, I
So,
mean,
but
we don't
I
have a try hard CS team. We have a couple of guys that all play, couple.
I I just will say this. I do believe that EVE Online can have like a really successful esports scene. I think it is achievable. Like I remember like the betting days. That was so fun. Like obviously there's a lot of controversy about that and across like the gaming stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, they
it was still
have that
awesome.
now in the chat, I guess. So it's something at least.
I guess, but it's not the same. I feel like when people were, the last year of when they allowed betting on the Alliance tournament, like ISK and stuff, there was like 15,000 people watching the finals, and everyone was going mad. And also Alliance tournament ships were dying. It was just absolute like insanity, and Shadow's screaming at the. You've seen those videos of him just like screaming at the. And the Marachas are dying, and it's like you're losing hundreds of billions of ISK in the game. Obviously, there is a balancing issue to that, and there is like, you can argue that legacy teams have advantages over new teams because of the alliance, ships and things. So there could be a way to balance that maybe, but like, I kind of did advocate for them to be removed, but at the same time, you do take away those sort of awesome moments where the Etana dies or the Marachas will die and the Cambions die, and that did add a huge for me, that was like big excitement. I don't know about you guys watching the tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a big aspect. It's like rock paper scissors. Still, I mean,
Yeah,
truth or not
yeah.
light, they lost today, and I felt like it was a bit of that that contributed to it, right? If you feared and they lost their flagship too. So like the barcode guys, I don't even know who's behind the barcodes team. It's one of those things. Like
They're very similar. I think they are like kind of they scrim a lot together. I think those two teams. And the same thing happened. Another team they lost their flagship as well. And
Can you not
but won the
replace your
match.
flagship?
no,
No,
It's
once
not
it's
like
dead, it's done.
when
no.
it's dead, it's
Yeah.
dead.
Wow.
So now I guess you have to say the barcodes team, they are the favorites. They beat the winner from last
Barcode,
year and killed their flagship.
Barcode are the favorites at the
Yeah.
moment. It's to go to win. Although they had to play Tuskers, or white flag, and they're both really good. And then in the bracket, the other side of the bracket, we've got Odin's Call and Fraternity against Arrival and Hidden Leafing. I'm gonna vote on Odin's Call, and I'm voting Arrival.
I'm gonna
Not-
vote
no,
on Odin's Go too.
Not a dig, generally.
Didn't they
and-
lost their flagship today as well?
They did. That's it. They lost their flagship. Yeah, they lost their flag. That's correct. And then Arrival will definitely be Hidden, and then it'll be, I don't know, Arrival. Odin's called. That's pretty. Arrival might win because they got the flag advantage, and then I think Barcode might go to the semis straight away. And then the losers bracket is all to play for. You got Templars, you got Dark Side, and you got Dark Side and Truth on a Light next match.
That's a
Big
solid
match. Oh
one.
my God.
That's a solid
Huge
match.
Waffy, and you can never. And this is what I've learned in playing tournaments for like 13 years in this game. You never can predict what the Russians do in the Alliance tournament. You never know. You don't know. You think you know what he's doing, and he brings something completely different. The same thing happened against Vidra, and you just never know. You can't. You just gotta ban and bring a doctrine and just hope it's what it wins. So next week on the losers bracket is gonna be crazy. We've got We from Volta versus Horde. Maybe I can talk to Gobbins and if win or lose, I don't know, we can make a deal. And then
don't even joke about
Laser
this.
Hawk,
Getting yourself banned here.
Laser Hawks. No, winner takes all. Or the either TQ. That's what I'd say.
Right.
Laserhawks and Platinum Sensitivity. That'll be a great match, actually. Those two. If you know who Platinum Sensitivity is, they're like a really underrated team, I think.
Yeah.
And then you got Kalsef.
Someone in chat is asking if Noraus is still here. Well, Noraus like.
No, I'm still here. I just sent out a ping. I'm just honestly not so familiar with the ATs.
I was about to say
entire interaction.
It's not really a thing. I don't think you ever participated in it, right?
Oh, I did in the bomber though. It's only one
really?
time. I mean, 2 times. Yeah, in the bomber. It was 18. It was 18. I can't remember. Sorry, must be like 2018 or something.
Well, I thought we'd talk about Alliance tournament, seeing as it's just finished, and we might get some people coming over. They're having like tournament fatigue.
They just finished.
It's just finished.
I mean, we are kind of
the match to watch.
Between
yeah, Karen.
Yeah. But
okay, I'll just say the matches to watch next week. The matches to watch next week, I think, are honestly, I think Dark Side, Truth on a Light. I think that is the match to watch next week. I think it's gonna be, because it could be an upset, as in Truth on a Light could go out. You just Waffy, might bring out some mad stuff, and and take the win.
I remember Faffy Waffy good because like for a long time we were fighting Dark Side in Curse, right? Faffy Waffy and a couple other guys, like those I don't forget these names. WS was a 26. It's another Dark Side guy. One dude called Pandy. People always, Pando and Pandy.
Raph is asked in the chat, is betting ISK forbidden on the AT? Yes. It is. You're not allowed to bet. You can't bet ISK on anything anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's against the EULA, but you can do hypernets.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You can do hypernets though. Anyway, well, I could ramble on about the Alliance tournament. I feel bad for Norris.
And I plan on doing
you're fine.
an AT episode actually. With Casper from Truth on a Light, maybe someone else from one of the other teams. But yeah, they're all busy as hell, right? They're all busy as hell right now.
Loser. There you go. Francis says, Volta versus Horde. Loser. SD's all to solve. So it's all it is. and then if you go to the end fraternity, we can have the big finals where the winner losers the SDs and solves as well.
No, now we're talking some stakes here.
Big stakes.
Yeah, big stakes.
I can hear Noraus.
How about we trade IHAB? No, we can trade IHABs like DO6 IHAB in the next 47, right?
I think we should 1v1 Norris. I think settle this. Bring your best.
1v1 on the sun.
Yeah.
No, we can 1v1 in AT. Hopefully we get to match each other at a point.
What? And then we both like get out of the way. I'm playing in this match.
That would be so funny if you guys.
I'm gonna be a shitty player.
Waltz
I'm gonna
in
be a
like.
shitty AD
I
player.
mean, Norse, can you even play?
Yes. We don't talk about that, but I do play sometimes here and there.
You remember you can't fly a monitor. It's not allowed. Is that okay?
Wow.
Do you, I don't know why I'm saying anything. I only play monitors.
I'm just gonna mass inject my
I
tongues.
would say though
Gonna
that
be
would be
Spanish there.
that would be such a baller move if two teams actually decide to just say like, yeah, we're just gonna bring one guy. It's a 1v1 now, and just bring in one ship.
Oh, that would be honestly. That
I'm
would
not
be
even
amazing.
a good AD player, dude.
Wouldn't
that
that be?
a good AD player.
That's the stuff
Imagine if
legends
we
are
did
made
that.
of.
Like, we just both. It's just 1v1. We don't bring anybody else. It's just a 1v1 at the Knights tournament.
Yeah, would be hilarious, dude.
That'd be so great. I don't think that would go down very well with some of my team members.
I think it would be a boring 10 minutes though, because like obviously both of you would bring something active tanked that can tank one ship, Like a Hyperion can probably tank whatever you
We're
bring.
gonna brawl the shit out.
Roll that shit out. Two Vindicators at 0, and then when it goes to the tie-dye, the damage will start going crazy. That'd be fun. But the stakes would be so high that everyone would, that would be great. Loser quits Evil 9. That's it, done.
No,
wins the game.
I already quit. I already quit officially. But anyway, so the AT still have like 2 weeks, yeah?
No,
next week is the last week.
The last week, oh.
One more weekend.
They condensed it. They just condensed it down to 2 weeks, which I don't really like. I think it was better when
I
it
do
was
like it.
sort of. You do like it. I don't like that. It gives more teams. It gives more the meta to shift. It gives more interesting things. But
yeah, you might be right. But
I don't really like the double elimination system anyway. I think it's like you said, the dice roll is big, and some teams can get unlucky and just lose.
But then,
based on...
I mean, it's double elimination. That's why it's double and not just single elimination.
I guess so. Fine.
You want triple elimination?
I think no one
triple elimination.
The finals. No one should. No, I think it should be. I remember a long time ago, I didn't like this method. It was like a point system, like in one of the early tournaments, and you could game it. I didn't like that, but I think once you get to a certain point, it should be just best ofs from maybe after the first weekend, it's double elimination. But once you get to the second one, it should be maybe best ofs. I don't know. I think the best ofs are more interesting with lots of mind games as well. And it gives you a chance. It gives you a chance to play the same team twice and not just die on a fluke or die. I don't know. Like it always feels better to play a best of.
There's no best of 3 anymore. It's just all one.
At the end though, at the end, like only the last. I think the semis from the semis onwards.
Semifinals.
Yeah. And then it's the finals of the losers bracket is definitely a best of, and then the semis is a best of, and then there's a best of 5 at the end. I think. Yeah, there has been leagues and before people were asking in chat, but it's such a monumental task to organize those.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. All right. We're actually a little bit over the time anyway. I always aim for an hour and a half, but yeah, that was pretty interesting to get a little bit of an insight on you guys. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, you brought up FanFest. You guys gonna be at FanFest?
No, I checked the tickets. It's crazy.
It's actually the same reason as well. Like it's too expensive.
Can't
afford. I have to transit twice. And Iceland will only issue me visas on exact how many days that will stay in Iceland. It's terrible.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Well,
yeah.
Other than that, yeah, thanks again, and maybe we meet each other on the next FanFest and not this year. Maybe.
I think a year from now we do another stream and we'll be all grey.
Sure. We can do
10
that.
years
Yes.
now,
100%.
all grey hairs.
We're talking about this war that has been going on for 2 years now.
Taking one more system, one more iHub. And
Yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna see you in like DO6 or CCP at some point. Maybe
in what?
next year.
Well, at this rate, we'll be fucking 10 years from now.
I wouldn't be so optimistic if I were you. Okay,
Whoa!
let's go back
Threats,
defend your I have tomorrow. How about that?
threats being made. Threats
All
being
right,
made.
all right, all
More
right.
threats.
Then I guess see you guys tomorrow on the battlefield. Hey, maybe I'll be there and bomb the right fleet this time too. And
Bliss. We should be
yeah,
good then.
I try my best. All right. But yeah, the guys on stream, thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
All right.
Enjoy the AT next weekend and see you guys around. All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye bye. Have a good one. Thank you.